Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Mending Threads, your safe place and your stronghold for whole body wellness. This morning we have as a topic, and we're going to look at flip sides and all sides of surviving and thriving wellness from the field to your table and in your life. We have with us this morning Chef Shirley Kelly, who is the CEO of Solstice Cuisine. And she also has a restaurant here in Houston at 2626 South Loop West, which I hope you will visit and check that out. So, we're going to talk today about striving, surviving, and thriving, and what that really means in a change of attitude and some of the things that we're going to do. So, we're going to listen to her. Today, she's going to look at the food aspect of it and how to handle food in order to look at striving and thriving. So today we're going to look at canning. So Chef Kelly, could you give us a little overview? And then we also have with us, um, I call him Doc Walker, associate pastor at the Shrine of the Black Madonna, also University Houston instructor, professor, and Texas Southern Urban Research Center. So I want us to look at all sides of this because it's very important, particularly during these times. So, Chef Kelly, what are we going to do today?
Okay, basically today I'm just going to give you the tools that you will need for canning. Um, as we know, we're living in a world that is filled with so much uncertainty. So I feel that there's a need for us to get back to basics. Uh, our ancestors did this technique long time ago. And I think that it's important for us to bring this technique back so that we can assure uh, our survival. I mean, be it weather conditions or anything that could happen, we need to know how to store and preserve food. Okay, so there's two types of canning that I want to introduce you to today. The first one is, of course, the one that our ancestors did back in the day is water bath canning, and they use this type of a pot, okay, which includes a little, lifter that you can just sit your jars in, okay. So basically, the water bath canning was for pickling vegetables and fruits and preserving that way. But now we're in an age where we can pressure can, and by pressure canning, we can uh, can at a temperature that will be able to kill all of the bacteria and the organisms that can harm us, you know, in the process. Okay, so with pressure canning, you can can just about anything. Um, I have started canning all of my uh, most of my vegetables. I can potatoes. I can meat. You can can meat. Uh, you can can. Some people say you can can cake, but I'm not going to go to that level. But we can just about can anything with pressure canning. Okay. So I'm just going to show you the pressure canning pot. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to show you basically what's on the lid. Okay. So we have, uh, okay, can you see can you
Thermometer,
see
yes. Mm-hmm.
okay.
May want to bring it up a little.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let me bring it over just a little bit. Okay. So now
Yes.
just stick
Mm-hmm.
it here. Okay. This is the dial gauge. Okay, which it register your pressure per pound per square inch. Oh, it measures the pressure in pounds per square inch. Okay, so now when I say pounds, okay, let me put it like this. There is an altitude level for each state, each city. Okay. Texas is well, our area is below sea level, so it's about 105 feet. So in that light, you want to bring your pressure up to between 10 and 11 pounds on the pressure canner. Okay. This is the little air vent. It automatically vents the steam. Here you have this little spigot here. Okay, is your the air it's like an air vent. Okay,
Is that to maintain the pressure level
it's
that
to
you said it?
release it's to
Mhm.
release a lot of the pressure.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Hmm.
it releases a lot of the pressure. But you know, we're going to go into that later. I'm going to demonstrate the whole process in a
Okay.
video because I think that's is going to be important because pressure canning is there's a lot, you know, that goes into pressure canning. Okay. But I just want to show you the techniques. You can okay, let me show you a couple of the books that you will need for canning. Okay, can you see?
Yeah, what's the name of them?
Okay, let me pull
Move
them
over a
down a
little bit.
little bit.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, can you
Hmm.
see it?
Yes.
Okay, this is the complete guide to pressure canning. And it's very important that we read this, you know, read the directions for pressure canning. Okay, I mean, it's, you know, a lot of people are afraid of pressure canning, but once you get into the technique, it's very easy. I love it. I can just about everything. I
Chef,
can leftovers, you
Move over
know.
a little bit. Move over a little bit to the on the opposite. Yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay,
Hmm.
okay. So this is a good book to have if you want to learn how to pressure can. Okay.
Chef, can I ask a question real quick?
Uh-huh.
So earlier, you mentioned the altitude or the basic altitude of the state of Texas. What does that have to do with the amount of pounds of pressure? Because you mentioned altitude, then you mentioned pounds of pressure that you want to apply in Texas. Is there a specific ratio between the two?
Um, yes, it depends. Depending on whether your state or city is above sea level or below sea level,
Hmm.
that determines the amount of pounds of pressure
Okay.
that you can deal with. You know, like I said, for our city, we're below sea level, so it's about 105 feet below. So in that light, uh, you know, there is the websites that I sent you, Dr. Lewis.
Yes.
They can go to those sites and they could see, you know, the altitude.
Where they are on that list. Hmm.
Right, where they
Okay.
are, and you know the altitude and how many pounds of pressure is required for that particular altitude.
Okay.
To process the
Okay,
heat. That's what I understand. To process the heat, the altitude
right,
determines the heat, the how the heat processes the level of heat.
processes and how much pressure that you can put on, you know, uh, it, that you can process in your canning. Okay, so
That you need in order.
that's very important. Now, you know, you're only limited in, you know, with your water bath canning, you're limited as to what you can. But again, like I said, with pressure canning, you can just about everything because With pressure canning, the heat goes up to, I think it's about 250 degrees. So that will kill all bad, organisms, or, that's in the, that will prevent you from getting sick,
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
this is another good book. It's called Home Canning and Preserving. Can you see that? This
Yes.
is this is published by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So, and this is a very important book to have too. To
Mm-hmm.
And both have a lot of real good recipes in it. And another thing that I want to elaborate on is that you go by your recipe. You follow your recipe for canning to the T. Okay, you follow it to the T.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean it's very important to do that, so that we won't, risk ourselves and the lives of our family. You know, we want to
The,
make sure.
mhm.
Pardon? Yeah,
I
we
think
want to make
we should
sure.
let the audience know approximately how much is it. What is the cost? The difference in preparation, since we are preparing now, and then everybody's going to later on engage in the canning. So since they're getting ready to get their items, the pressure canning is about how much? What range?
The pressure can, and this is a Presto pressure canner.
Mm-hmm.
Is the range, the price range is from like $70 to 100. But I tell you this, now that people are interested in this process, a lot of places have gone up on the prices of the canners. But I know you
Mm-hmm.
can go directly to Presto, their site, and you can order this canner. That's what I did. I ordered it for like about $70. Okay.
Of course, they
So
would get their money back in no time. They would get their money back
they get their
through the
money back
amount that they
over,
saved.
over and
Mm-hmm.
over. You
Mm-hmm.
know. Let me show you some of the items that I paid. Okay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
these are green beans. Okay. That I've canned. Also, like I said, you can can anything. Potatoes. I put my little seasoning in these potatoes and canned them. But like I said, I'm gonna do a full video on that process, because there's a certain amount of time that you can for the quart jars, and there's a certain amount of time that you can for the smaller jars. So
I
this is
remember
something that,
my
pardon?
mother used to can, and I canned some, but I know
Yeah,
it's the secret. It's the secret about that lid. And if you don't get the lid right, then you mess up your whole batch. Can you tell us about
exactly. You have, and another thing that I want to elaborate on that is we want to, before we start any candy, we want to clean our jars. Clean our jars, dip them in hot water, as hot as you can get it, okay, to sterilize. And that includes the lid. These are the lids. It's very important to sterilize your lid, okay?
that? Mm-hmm.
That's the important thing, because these lids are going to be going on the top, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, these are the rings. You can reuse your rings, but you cannot reuse the lid.
Mm.
Once you've opened a jar, and you've used up the food in that jar, throw these lids away and get new lids.
Mm.
Okay. Now I'm gonna show you another thing that I can. This is chicken. Okay, like I said, with pressure canning, you can can
Oh wow.
everything. You can
Mm-hmm.
can chicken, you can can fish, because I have some salmon that I can. Uh, you can can ground turkey. Uh, the list is endless uh, for pressure canning.
Can you tell us the
So
seasonings we need to put in there?
Well, it's based on your taste. Like with the potato, okay, with the chicken, I just put a little garlic and a little salt in it. Like once I open it, I can add more seasoning if I want, and just prepare it the way that I want to prepare it. With the potatoes, I added garlic, uh, basil, okay, a little parsley, okay, and a little salt,
Mm-hmm.
and okay,
Mm-hmm.
you might see a little bit of those little speckles of basil in there.
Yes.
And with the green beans, I just put a little salt in it. I can add more seasoning in there uh, as I want. Okay. Um, and the tools that we need for canning, I just want to touch on that a little bit. I'm going to reiterate on that once I do the video. But this is the canning funnel. This is what you put on top of the jar, because we want to be really, cognizant, when we're canning. You put it on top of the jar and you put your food item in there through the funnel. Okay. And then once you get your food in the jar, you're gonna add your water or your broth or whatever, your heated broth, um, to the point of 1 inch space. You don't want to fill it all the way up to the top. You want to leave like a 1 inch head space. And that's for most canning. And most canning, they require that you leave at least 1 inch head space in your jar.
And the water that you put in there has to be the same temperature of the food.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because, well, I'll say this, because I know with my chicken, I raw packed it. Okay. So what I did was I put in a little warm raw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I put it in my sealed it and put it in my
I
pot.
see.
But
I
but
see.
this is something that I'm gonna go over
And
with
each
you.
step, we're going to be doing
Yeah,
these classes like that. Yes.
because I think it's important that I demonstrate fully the process of especially pressure canning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, so, and then we have here, we want to handle our jars. This is a jar lifter. Okay, so this is what we use to lift our jars into our, out of our canner. Once everything is processed, we want to use this to lift it out because it's going to be hot. Unless we allow it to sit. A lot of times I allow it to just sit in the pot once everything is turned off and the gauge is back to zero. I just let it sit in the pot until it cools off. Because
Mm-hmm.
this is another thing too. You want to allow the whole the pot to cool off thoroughly before you
Mm-hmm.
lift this up, because it's going to be hot. And then when you lift it up, make sure that you lift it up away from you like that. Okay. Can you see? Did you see that?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So that steam won't hit your face. If you lift it up like that, that steam is going to hit you right in the face. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to lift it up this way. So, I mean, I hope I'm not scaring anybody into not using the pressure canner. It's once you get it down pat, you be canning everything. I can everything. I'm canning everything. If I have some leftover chili or whatever, and I don't want it to spoil,
Yes.
and I don't want to put it in the freezer, I can
Yes.
it.
So
Yes.
is that
But
where the
that's
savings comes in? In Is that where the savings comes in just making sure?
exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Because your fridge may go out and you may lose your food, so it's best to can it, That way you can keep that stored for at least a year and a half.
Now,
They
when you
say
say
that
stored,
you have to eat it within a year, but you can allow 6 months.
even the chicken.
Even the chicken, that's what's so good about it.
Hmm.
We can store this at least, just make sure that the lid is on here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can store it up to a year in your pantry.
Now, if it is something else, Doc Walker, if it is like pickling, sauerkraut, preserves, it sets it in age, and you can keep it for 5 years.
Wow.
Exactly. You can keep it. That's what is so good about canning. And I'm so glad that I started this process.
Do you have to
Uh,
keep these in the refrigerator, or pantry, or what? Where do you store?
no, you don't store it in the refrigerator. You put it in your pantry. Make sure that you put it in like a dark, cool place. You
Mm-hmm.
don't want to store it in your garage. You don't want to do that. You want to store it in a pantry that is dark and cool, that doesn't get too hot. I have a little pantry right here where I'm starting to store a lot of my canning, the canning that I do.
And
But
some people
just
are
make
building little
sure
sheds outside,
some
sealing
people,
the
yeah,
sheds in. Hmm.
and yeah, you can put it in your shed. Make sure that it's a nice place that doesn't get too hot, you know. Um, but then that's one of the yeah.
I think it's going to be real helpful when we're talking about surviving and thriving because, like Doc Walker was saying, not only can you buy larger amounts when it's on sale and go on
Right,
and can it, you can save
right.
your leftovers.
Mm.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And you can
Yeah,
feed more people. I was doing some
exactly.
reading to find out when, and I saw back there, way back in when Napoleon during the war, they started canning, and that
Yeah.
was the only reason that they were able to feed the
And
troops because they were able to do that. And
able to survive.
then I was doing a little bit more reading and how much it saves you on money
Hmm.
because
Exactly.
it stabilizes the food in the
Mm-hmm.
present when you can it
Exactly.
stabilizes the food right there. You
Mm-hmm.
see, at that particular period, it's stabilized at that point. Hmm.
Exactly. So I would suggest, that, anybody that is interested to take up this process and start now, start now, storing your food, or you can just go, not only just canning your food, but going to the grocery store, finding food that are on sale and just get tons of it and store it.
But check this
Um,
out. May have to do like you do. We may have to grow it,
grow it and
and then
then
right, we may have our little pots out there and grow our own food.
exactly, because in my backyard, I mean, I've started. I have a bunch of greens back there: kale, broccoli, cauliflower, onions, bell peppers. So
We know what we need to do, Doc Walker. We need to go visit
right, yes. And so yeah, so I love it. I love it. I love this process. And I hope that this will enlighten others to look into canning. You can start out small,
Yes.
just
Uh-huh.
canning a few little small containers. This is a pint jar here. uh you
Yes.
know
Yes.
and get the books. Get the books. Ball, the company that makes these jars. They have really good books on uh, canning, pressure canning, and water
Yes.
bath canning.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you
we're
could
gonna get
get
started.
those
We're gonna.
books.
You told me to remind you when 7:30 came or whatever. We're a little
Okay.
past, and so that you could get to your restaurant this morning.
Yeah.
And but I do want to thank you this morning. Now listen, so this is the beginning. Everybody must go out and get all of our utensils because we're going to
Exactly.
follow up and we're going to all engage in canning. And she's
Mhm.
going to tell us. And next week I will announce which item we're going to begin with, so that you can
Well,
go purpose.
actually, I'm going to need to with the demonstrating canning. I'll probably have to do a video because it's
Okay.
a long process. It's going to take
Yes.
about an hour and a half for me to really go fully into the process of especially pressure canning.
Yes.
Okay. So
So
there's a lot of steps that you need to take,
right.
in the process. So it's going to
I
take
think
about.
I think it might be good if we could just take step one, step two, step three like that, because I have a lot of churches that are signing up, and they're signing up because we're doing an intergenerational program where the mothers and grandmothers and children are getting together to do this. And some other food preparation items, but we're using it for good mental health attitude, and looking at surviving and thriving and how that relates to whole body wellness. So you have taken a step. Of course, we started last year with you, and but I'm glad that you've given us this thing. I'm gonna rush out and get my little pot. I'm gonna look at the Presto
Yeah.
people and see if they will send me a pot,
Right.
and get started right away. I'm excited.
Mhm.
I'm really ready to go doing it. I used
I
to do it.
love
I used to do some of that, but
it.
not meats. I haven't done, but I have done some other
Yeah,
things. Yes,
with me, there's a lot of steps that you need to take, with that. But you can it a little bit longer with meat. Anything with meat in, you have to can it a little bit longer. But then
yes,
we'll go over that. We'll go over that as
yes.
well. We'll go
Well,
over that.
thank you so much. Thank you very much. Well, Doc Walker and I are going to be talking about you while you're not here, but it will be all pleasant. We'll be talking about what we're doing.
All
Okay,
right,
thank you so much for being with us today.
all right. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Oh, that was interesting. So I have not ever used the pressure, and it is a little intimidating because the lid, it gets hot, but I think we could do that, and it looks like it's a shorter period of time, and it's more
Mhm.
effective. So are you
That
doing it? You're going to do it too?
I'm going to research it. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Of course, I'm going to do it.
Yes, we could do this. We could do this. Now, one of the things I wanted us to talk about it because people really don't really see the idea, the connection. I talked with some children the other day, and they didn't really even know where milk came from, and they didn't.
Wow.
I couldn't believe this, and they showing commercials all the time. They just have in their mind that everything is in the grocery store,
Hmm.
and then you go to the grocery store, and then they don't see that you can save, or they're not discussing it or having it in their mental repertoire that you can save on your food. They just believe in eating it now, and whatever is not in the refrigerator, then you throw it away if it's a day old or good, or if the restaurant or the store says it's a mark on there,
Yeah.
like a date on there. So they're not using their thinking processes. Someone has to tell them that it is not good. So if it's on there, they don't want to eat it. And I say, well,
Mm.
how can you do that when it's preserved? So it seems like the people are just trying to get you to go buy more of it. You
That's that's what happens in a, that. It's all about making the money, making the dollar.
That's right. That's right. So I wanted to look at the topic today to see from our study, because we know that there are some things that we feel like we're stuck right now, that we can't move forward. We're not connecting our past to where we are now and
Hmm.
where we're trying to go. And I wanted to see what could you offer us in terms of our studying on going about thriving and using our past and using our history to where we are.
Well, historically, there are some real specific things that we did in order to not just survive, because surviving is just eking out, barely getting by. You
Yes,
know, we want to live lives where we are thriving, where we are
yes,
becoming our fully actualized selves, and we're giving our all, and we're taking it all in, all those things. But there were some specific things that we did historically that allowed us to thrive in good times and bad. Um, and interestingly enough, these things don't cost money. These are things that we can do for ourselves for free.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna share five of those things. Uh,
Yes.
the first one is community, connection, and relationships. Um,
Mm-hmm.
through difficult and trying times, I learned that we hear a lot about Black Wall Street in Tulsa or slash Greenwood, Oklahoma, but
Mm-hmm.
what is not taught is that the state of Oklahoma had the most black incorporated townships in the entire country. There were at least over 50 just in the state of Oklahoma during the 1920s and 30s when we were getting lynched outright, left and right. But the power of community coming together, there's actually film footage from the state of Oklahoma. There's one particular brother, I don't remember his name. He made it his point to go around not only to the state of Oklahoma, but other places and just film Black life. And you see Black people thriving and vibrant and, dressed to the nines and, just giving off this air of
Mm-hmm.
hope and joy at a time when we wouldn't think that our people had any hope or any joy. So that just kind of reiterates the importance of community, connection, relationships. And, human beings, we were created for community. We need human touch and we need affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
We learn to walk and talk and so many other things simply because from our association with other people. If we don't have that association, we don't learn those things. Connection and contact with others, when you have that, research has shown that you literally heal faster
Yes.
because you have connection and relationships. That's why it's so important to call or to visit folk who are quote unquote sick and shut in. It helps
Mm-hmm.
with maintaining better emotional health. Babies need human touch and connection to fully develop their mental capacity. So that's one. That's free. The second one is living in mission and purpose. In other words, being part of something that is greater than your personal self. That is
Mm-hmm.
critical for living life beyond just surviving. And living a life on purpose is, part of that includes your spiritual connection, right? But also it includes service, because as the song says, service is the
Mm-hmm.
highest praise. And just on this topic of mission and purpose, African people believe that each and every one of us, before we were born, the creator, the divine, the one God known by many names, implanted in us a purpose and mission that only we can achieve and accomplish. And when we are born, it is on us and the community in which we are born to discover that purpose so that we can then live that purpose. Because if you're not living your purpose, you're out. But anyway, mission.
And be able to speak it out loud. See,
Yeah,
one of the so culturally, what you're speaking about is that first the person, the culture, the people around you have to help you speak it out loud in the manner in which your group is speaking it, so that you could hear it and you will know it, reinforce knowing it
and knowing your
instead of
purpose
keeping it
doesn't,
silent.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing your purpose doesn't mean that, oh, that means that I work this particular job and only that. Because like for my
Mm-hmm.
purpose, my divine purpose is to wake people up to their divine worth. That's my
Yes,
purpose.
that's
But I
what I'm
can live that purpose through teaching or preaching or through artwork or it whatever the gifts the creator has given me. I can live that
saying.
purpose through those particular gifts and through developing those gifts and developing other gifts. But living with purpose and mission gives your days more meaning,
Mm-hmm.
makes you
Mm-hmm.
happier, unlimited supply of fulfillment. It's also said to be a very powerful antidote to depression and sadness, being able to live your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It provides direction, endless motivation, a powerful sense of just being alive. So that's number two. The third is the thing that we have done historically is we adopted and lived in a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
know you've heard those terms before, and
Yes, yes.
I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
our viewers have probably heard as well. But the benefits to living with a growth mindset is you acknowledge and embrace imperfections.
Yes.
You are
Mm-hmm.
not crushed when something is not perfect. You view challenges as opportunities for self improvement.
Except looking at your realities and knowing that you don't have to, you choose to keep the reality or change the reality.
Right,
You
right,
see.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a mentor of mine said, life really is just moving from one challenge to the other, one challenge to the other.
Mm-hmm.
You meet and deal with that challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and it equips you to deal with more. It gives you confidence, whatever. You learn new things, but it's moving from one challenge. For example, hungry. That's a challenge. What do? You go find something to eat, or you grow something to eat, or you can, but you meet that challenge and you move on to the next one. Life is just challenge after challenge after
Mm-hmm.
challenge. And if we are afraid of the challenges, that's the challenge. That's the issue. But when you have a growth mindset, you view challenges as opportunities. So literally, you are viewing all of life as just one opportunity coming at you after another, willing to try different things when you have a growth mindset. Instead of living in a state of regret because of some setback or failure, you study that setback, you study that situation for strategies to win and succeed moving forward. You
And
prioritize. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying right there where you are, that's
Hmm.
one of the themes that are really taught in many families is
Hmm.
that especially in the farm communities, is that this, if it's a storm or whatever, you just deal with this and you got to look at a way to start all over and replant. You
Hmm.
must replant. And they would always say you must decide what you have to replant because the changes may tell you that you may need to put something else there because of the difficulties that have happened with the land. So you must know what you're trying to do and deal with the change in that way.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's being very fluid, right? Because if you have a
Mm-hmm.
fixed mindset, you're only going to do things one
That's
way, and if it doesn't work out
mm-hmm.
that way, then boom, you're messed up. But with a growth mindset, you prioritize learning over approval. You're willing to fail. You're willing to take
Yes.
risks and step out there and attempt
Mm-hmm.
new things. You value the journey, the process over the end result because it's the
Mm-hmm.
process that provides the fulfillment, the everyday working towards that end goal that gives your life meaning. And you emphasize growth over speed, learning well over learning fast. Uh,
Yes.
and then the final two things, an attitude of thanksgiving and gratefulness. I truly
Mm-hmm.
believe there is a power in giving thanks. And I went
Mm-hmm.
to research uh, psychology today. That's where I went. And
Mm-hmm.
from psychology today, the researchers there said living in gratefulness, in thanksgiving
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
open does seven things. It opens doors to more relationships. You just become
Mm-hmm.
more likable as a human being yourself, and you're open to accepting others into your life. It improves your physical health, psychological health. It enhances empathy and reduces aggression. It
Mm-hmm.
says you even get better sleep when you live
Mm-hmm.
in gratefulness, and it improves how you feel about yourself, and it increases your mental strength because life happens, right? You're going to have challenges and setbacks and failures. And so
Mm-hmm.
living in gratefulness doesn't mean you're not going to have those things, but you will be better equipped,
Mm-hmm.
mind, body, and spirit to deal with those things. And then finally, another thing that we have done historically that allows us to thrive, not simply survive, is participate in spiritual practices.
Yes.
Spiritual
Mm-hmm.
practices, going to church or going to the temple, the mosque, that's a spiritual practice, but also meditation. We've done that for eons. Meditation, finding that quiet moment in the day so that we can hear that small still voice that's trying to speak to us. We're
Mm-hmm.
always praying, praying to God, but
Mm-hmm.
rarely do we just simply get quiet enough to listen, to hear an answer.
Yes. And
So
get rid of
meditation,
all of the distractions and the noise and the looking at it in a different way, in a different manner, perspective. It's
it,
perspective taking.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and if we just stopped with meditation, just the benefits of doing that on a regular basis, they say just doing 5 to 10 minutes a day of meditation has so many benefits. It's literally insane. But the spiritual practices, worship, service, meditation, movements, Tai Chi, and other
Mm-hmm.
uh, candomblé and other movements, those were considered and are considered spiritual practices. Worship, I've already mentioned, but fellowship, investment, and service. And it's interesting that so many of the things that we just went over, you can find in spiritual communities. Uh, because you got the worship, you have the fellowship, you have the opportunity to invest and to affix your life to something that is bigger and greater than just your personal self. And you have opportunities to serve others. You recognize that the universe doesn't revolve around you, but you are a beautiful and unique part of that universe, of that bigger picture. And in that you can find meaning and
So
the
can I give
ability
you
to
an
thrive. Yeah.
let me give you an example of what you just said about seeing yourself um as not just you. So I was
Hmm.
riding in the airplane coming to my father's funeral when
Hmm.
you said that. And I was really like just engrossed with this sadness and it was just dread. And I happened to look out the window and I saw all of these. I'm in the airplane, and as we hover lower over, I could see all these little people in the cars moving around. And all of a sudden, I began to look at that they all had lives and they all had feelings about their fathers. And so many other people have lost. In other words, it was just a moment of being
Hmm.
able to come out of that dread, that sense, to look at
Hmm.
someone else.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
to realize that there's a higher being that's controlling all of this, that these people are believing in something too, and these people are questioning something too. And so that whole thing that you just mentioned, then, in terms of that reality piece right there, so our audience can see how it really fits into a real life experience. That once you are able to see other people going through some of the same things that you're going through at the very moment that you're going through it, that helps you to kind of move forward, to recognize that it ain't all about you, you
Yeah.
know,
It's
what you
right.
feel.
Right. 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 And for some people, that's a crushing realization, but for others, it wakes them up
Yes,
to the to so much more beauty, so much more, so many
yes.
more relationships, so much more of life. And when you think about some of the highs and lows that our ancestors and those who walked this earth before us went through, um,
Hmm.
uh, yet still able to thrive, still able to
Yes.
achieve, still able to accomplish. People talk a whole lot about the oppression that Black people have been under here, specifically here in the United States. And they talk about Black people at the lowest rungs of every positive indicator and the highest rungs of every negative indicator. Um, and I get all that. But when you look at all that white supremacist society has thrown at us, the story is really how we got over all the things that we have accomplished. Because not only did we build
Hmm.
our ancient nations, but we built this country. And
Hmm.
almost any math or science or technological achievement, if you look hard enough, you'll see a Black woman or man that was at the foundation of those things. So even with all the madness and the empires that we have built and folk have destroyed, and yet we continue to build even more and more. So the
Hmm.
real story to me is our ability to continue to thrive in the midst of the madness. We
Yes.
there is something, truly, there's something inside of us so strong.
Hmm. I do, and it's so much education. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm right now I'm interviewing homeless people
Mm-hmm.
around Herman Park and some other areas like that. And one of the things that they're sharing with me is that they're in the moment, but they know that they have overcome. And so I was like, and they say, well, we have overcome. And he says, the one that stuck in my mind was like, it's your group that really needs the help because says
Mm.
because I have shared so many restricting thinking ways of thinking,
Hmm.
and what I'm trying to do now is to go beyond and go further in terms of what it all means, and how I can. So he says now your group is entrapped into the tax bearing system, into the blah blah blah. So it's like you the little rats that have to get up every he had me dying.
Mm.
He was so, but he talked about it. He said, so see, it's really your belief in God, expanding your mind, whatever God, however you want to name the God, what your beliefs, what is it that you want to know, what you want, what you're trying to do, what meaning does it have, and how are you going to transcend the meaning? And he said, so I'm doing that. You just don't think that I'm doing it, or this person doesn't think that I'm doing it because of where I live.
Mm-hmm.
So and now you're back to where a person lives. I mean, he was just looking at it. So he says, all I have to do now is, he said, I probably have more money in the bank or saved up than 5 or 6 people like you. But so
Mm.
I mean, he was so interested in speakers because
Mm-hmm.
he has perspective. And then
Mm-hmm.
he said, so when I get ready, I will decide to do something different. Okay.
Mm.
Right now, I'm trying to figure out what would make my life more meaningful in those that come after me. And
Mm.
I said, that is so well put. So
Yeah.
I have his little speech, written down.
Go ahead.
So that was really good. So I guess we're at the point of ending our show. Maybe we should just kind of like highlight some things for our audience that we want them to want to leave with some points that they can start, that they can begin using
One
right
thing,
now.
one
Hmm.
thing I would suggest everyone do is one moment, at least one moment during the day, um, just list those things for which you are thankful. Some
Hmm.
people start their day off doing that um, during meditation. Some people end their day by writing, making a list. I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for that. That's one thing. The second
Hmm.
thing I would suggest is invest in the relationship you have or you can have with your ancestors, those who came before you. Uh, as simple as just speaking their names, remembering their names. Um,
Hmm.
one other thing I would suggest related to that is, I'm a historian. We teach African American studies and our history for darn near 20 years now, but uh, not everyone is as much into history as I am. But one thing you can do to help your children get into history is to teach them about their own family history, people in their
Hmm.
family whose names may not be in the history books, but tell them about the struggles, the trials and tribulations, the overcoming of grandma and Madeir and grandpa and the great greats and the uncles and aunts and all those things. So those are some real specific things that we can do to be in this state of gratefulness so that we can um, just be more positive about the life that we have and not just survive but move towards thriving.
And I think put it in our action plan for thriving, for us thriving. We need to actually have it in an action plan, write it down to look at where we're going as a family, where we're going, where you want to go as an individual, and
Mm-hmm.
also look at this as healing yourself, both mentally and physically. And it's pulling together. And so we call it mindfulness and being in the moment. But I think that you have a point there. If we could just meditate in the moment and get rid of the distractions and do an action plan for our whole body wellness, we'd be right on track.
And you said
Hmm.
something that really ministered to me. You said speak it out loud
Speak it
because
out loud.
I
Hmm.
remember this. I've been blessed to write 5 books and help other
Hmm.
people write books as well. But before I had published my first book, it was a book in my mind. It was something that I wanted to do. It was something I was planning to do. then I was on the job, and we were doing one of those kind of training sessions. We have someone come in and guide us through the training session, and that was the first time I literally spoke it out loud. And once I did that, it was like the energy was there, the focus was there, the
Yes.
and so now, and this is one of my latest, stand your ground, a work of
Yes.
annual, another work of fiction.
Well,
The
you'll have to tell us how to get them published.
the hundredth monkey, three
Yes.
tales of spiritual revolution, and this is the textbook that I wrote. Princes shall
Yes.
come out of Egypt. Comparative study of the theological and ecclesiological views of Marcus Garvey and Albert B. Clegg Jr. And then I don't have a copy of my first book here.
Well, can you get me a list of all of the books and a little like a little line or two about what's covered in the books? You know, like on a sheet of paper.
I can definitely do that. And but you made me think of that. The power of speaking it out
Yes.
loud. Speak
So
it out
let me
loud.
tell
What
you
is
what
it?
we're doing. We have
Mhm,
authors that are going to come on and they're going to hold classes because
mm,
there's so many people that want to do this. So
mhm,
we have a writing circle and a speaking circle,
mhm,
and that's getting ready to start in January, February. And people will actually get their pens along with myself because I got 3 books started and none of them finished. And so I'm going to finish the books. That's my goal, is to finish one at a time starting in March. You know, have that first one
mhm.
drafted. And so the thing is, they're writing their goals out now and in January. And then we're going to begin having persons like yourself on, and they will be the speakers for persons to do that, and then they'll become their mentors. You
Mm,
see, and they will have a little mentoring group. Okay, that will be supporting each other like that.
excellent.
Okay, I'm looking for, and I just want to say thank you. I always enjoy our conversations and what we do, and I'm getting feedback. I'm trying to get people to go on and give me some feedback, but they're calling in and they're telling me even younger people now are asking, but they have asked for some young people to come on. So I have to get out and fish out and find some younger people to have a corner on each show.
Yeah.
And but one of the things that they're asking is, when are we going to actually do this in the community? So I want to say yes, because on this coming Tuesday and next Tuesday, so you'll see the show on Tuesday evening at 7. We are going to have Doc Walker on, and he's going to be talking about culture and helping to develop cultural competence. If you're interested, please come on and send your email to ips.health1@gmail.com. IPS, I P like Paul, S like Sam, dot health, HEALTH, the number 1 at gmail.com. Express your interest, and we will send a link to you so that you can join the discussion. And then we will have a class led by Dr. Walker. Anybody who wants to know more about history, African American history, culture, we will have a actual class beginning in February. So I look forward to that. And the class is not just information now; it's going to be, what are you going to do with it after
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, then. So that's good. So I want to say thank everybody for being with us today. Thank you, Doug Walker. And I
Thank
want to
you.
say, come back next week to Mending Threads. And just remember that it is not the circumstance that we meet, it is the manner in which we respond that determines health, happiness, and success. So renew your beliefs, rebuild your faith, and reconnect with family and friends. So, and your community. And I shall see you on next week, same time, same place. Thank you, and have a good week. Okay.